قد أفلح المؤمنون.
Moving on to number 7. Number 7 is Muslim ibn Awsjah. Muslim ibn Awsjah is very famous for being the companion, the close friend of Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi. So he is one of the few Kufans, much like Abbas, who we can attest as giving bay'ah to Muslim and then going out and joining al-Imam al-Husayn. So the first mention of Muslim ibn Awsajah comes to us in Kufa with Muslim ibn Aqil. Tabari narrates that when Muslim ibn Aqil arrived in Kufa, Muslim ibn Awsajah was one of the men who rushed to become one of his supporters, and he was one of his major allies. And the spy of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, la'inahullah, by the name of Ma'qil, found the safe house of Muslim ibn Aqil through Muslim ibn Awsajah. So this is reported in al-Tabari in volume 19, page 49 to 40. And so this is the story. Inshallah, if we have time, we'll do the bio of Muslim ibn Aqil. Like, he deserves his own lecture to explain this story. But essentially, Ibn Ziyad, when he came to Kufa, he used espionage to figure out where Muslim ibn Aqil was staying. And so the man that he sent was his Mawla Ma'qil, or his ally Ma'qil. And so Ma'qil, the way he found the house of Muslim ibn Aqil was going to Muslim ibn Awsajah and convincing him he was one of the Shia and that he wanted to give bay'ah to Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi. So after Han ibn Urwa was arrested, Muslim ibn Aqil chose commanders for his army to organize the soldiers. So when Han ibn Urwa was arrested, Muslim ibn Aqil wanted to start the uprising immediately to free Han ibn Urwa, because Han ibn Urwa was one of his close friends and a devout Shia of Amir al-Muminoon salamullahi alayhi. So when he was organizing this rebellion, one of the people he chose to take command was Muslim ibn Awsajah, and he was the commander of Banu Asad and Banu Madhij. And this is recorded in al-Tabari in volume 19, page 48. The fact that even then, Muslim ibn Aqil trusted Muslim ibn Awsajah to such a level that he appointed him as one of his commanders. So we all know what happens next. The rebellion, of course, it fails, and Muslim ibn Aqil and both Han ibn Urwa are executed. And while the books do not give us an explicit report regarding how Muslim ibn Awsajah managed to escape Kufa and join with Imam al-Husayn, we do know that this happened sometime before the 9th of Muharram. Is that following the martyrdom of Muslim ibn Aqil, him and a few other people, the likes of Abbas, the likes of Abdullah ibn Umayr al-Kalbi, they managed to slip through and get to Imam al-Husayn. So on the night before Ashura, the night before the 10th of Muharram, this very famous scene happens. And this is one you've also no doubt heard of if you grew up listening to the Majalis, Rabbi Abdullah. Is the night before the battle, Imam al-Husayn has this meeting with his companions and he gives them one last chance to leave. And so this is reported by al-Tabari and I think al-Baladri as well, by al-Dhahak. They report it on the authority of al-Dhahak ibn Abdullah al-Mashriqi. Now, Dhahak ibn Abdullah al-Mashriqi is a famous figure. He is one of those people who was with Imam al-Husayn, and according to his own testimony, he says, I was with al-Husayn up until the very end of the battle. And at that point, I told him, you're on your own, and I left. And so that's how he survived in order to report these stories. So when Imam al-Husayn offered his companions, the last opportunity to leave, to essentially go, as in their bay'ah is now negated, they no longer have to submit to the bay'ah, Muslim ibn Awsajah rose up and he said these words. He said, could we leave you alone? How should we excuse ourselves before Allah concerning our duty to you? By Allah, not before I thrust with my spear until I break it in their chests, not before I strike them with my sword as long as its hilt is in my hand. I will not leave you. If I have no weapon to fight them with, I will throw stones at them to defend you until I die alongside you. And when we cover the bios of the other companions of al-Husayn who stood up and spoke that night, you will see that he was not the only one to declare his loyalty to Abu Abdullah in such a way. And as we know, one of the first people to do this was Abu al-Fadl Abbas. This is reported by al-Tabari in volume 19, page 48, and al-Balagri in volume 3, in his Ansab al-Ashraf, volume 3, page 393. So moving on to the battle and to his martyrdom. According to al-Dhahhak al-Mashriqi, once again, when the army of Ibn Sa'd began to move towards al-Husayn, and the fire of the and they saw the fire burning of the firewood and cane, which is something that Imam al-Husayn did. He had dug a trench around his tents, and he had filled it with firewood and cane, and then he had lit it on fire. So he says, Dhahhak al-Mashriqi alludes to this. He says, which we had lit so that they could not attack us from behind. One of them came galloping towards us on a horse which was completely covered with armor. He did not address us until he had gone past our tents. Then he looked towards our tents, but he could not see anything except the fire blazing in the firewood. He began to ride back, and he called out at the top of his voice, Husayn, are you hurrying towards hellfire in this world before the day of resurrection? Al-Husayn asked, who is that? Is that Ash-Shamr? It is like Ash-Shamr ibn al-Jawshan. They answered, yes, may Allah make you prosperous. That is Ash-Shamr. So Al-Husayn alayhi salam responded, son of a goat herdess, you are more worthy to be burnt by that. And so Muslim ibn Awsjah said, may I offer my soul for you, son of the apostle of Allah, let me shoot at him. Now it is possible for an arrow would not miss. He is a sinner and one of the great tyrants. And so Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayhi replied, do not shoot at him, for I am unwilling to begin the fighting against them. And this is again an example of Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayhi following the seerah of his father Amir al-Muminoon. Just like at Jamal, Siffin, Nahrawan, you never start. Let them start it. Because we know, had al-Husayn salamullah alayhi started the battle, had he given them any sort of excuse, any sort of alibi or any reasoning as to why they would have to fight him, to this day they would still be using it against him. And subhanAllah, even today, despite the fact that al-Husayn was completely innocent in this story, you have the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah portraying him as a troublemaker and a rebel. In any case, regarding the martyrdom of Muslim ibn Awsjah, it is further narrated in the Maqtal that when Amr ibn al-Hajjaj al-Zubaydi la'inahullah approached the followers of al-Husayn, he is reported to have said the following, people of Kufa, stay steadfast in your obedience and jama'ah, your unity. Do not have any doubts about fighting against those who have strayed from the true religion and have opposed the Imam. And subhanAllah, that reminds me, who does that remind us of? These words of Amr ibn al-Hajjaj, stay with the jama'ah. Stay with the majority group. And subhanAllah, they say the people of Kufa were Shia, but here they are obeying Amr ibn al-Hajjaj, and they seem to have a aqidah that bears an uncanny resemblance to another group today. So Al-Husayn salamullah alayhi retorted, Amr ibn al-Hajjaj, are you urging the people against me? Are we the ones who have strayed from the true religion, and you the ones who have remained firm in it? By Allah, if our souls were taken and you died with your actions, you would know which of us has strayed from the true religion and who is more worthy to be roasted by hellfire. Amr then commanded the right wing of Umar ibn Sa'ad's forces to launch an attack on Al-Husayn and his men. Al-Husayn and his men managed to repulse this attack, but Muslim ibn Awsjah fell in the melee. Al-Husayn salamullah alayhi walked towards him while Muslim was at the point of death. And he said, Muslim ibn Awsjah, may your Lord have mercy on you. Of them, the believers, is he who has accomplished his vow by death in battle, and of them is he who waits. They have not changed at all. And this is from the Quran. This is a very famous ayah of the Quran. And we have many ahadith, reports of Rasulullah reciting the same verse when he would see the shuhada among his companions. This is Surah Al-Ahzab, ayah 23. So Habib is telling his friend, he's telling him, I know that I'm going to die soon. I'm going to follow you soon. I have no intention of running away. I have the intention of meeting Allah as a shaheed the same way as you. However, it is your haqq upon me as a mu'min, as my friend, as my brother, that I carry out your wasiyah. And I would offer to do so, but, I'm going to die soon. So what's the point? So Muslim ibn Awsjah said, but there is one request that I have. There is one thing that I would ask of you that you can carry out. So he answered him, indeed, I do entrust to you. I do have a wasiyah for you. May Allah have mercy on you to do this. And he pointed towards al-Husayn, salamullah alayh, and he said, to die with this man. That's my wasiyah. Correct? And so Habib ibn Mudahar replied to him, I will do this by the Lord of the Kaaba. And so when Shabath ibn Rib'i, la'inahullah, when he saw that his men were celebrating the fact that they had killed Muslim ibn Awsjah, he rebuked them, saying, may your mothers be bereft of you. You have only killed yourselves with your own hands, and you have humiliated yourselves for someone else. Do you rejoice at killing a man like Muslim ibn Awsjah? Indeed, it was due to him that I embraced Islam. Many a noble stand have I seen him make among the Muslims. I saw him at the battle of the plains of Azerbaijan kill 6 polytheists before the horsemen of the Muslims all arrived. Could you be happy while a man among you like him is killed? And so the maqtal of Muslim ibn Awsjah, this is reported by al-Tabari in his Tarikh on page 137, 138, and in Ansab al-Ashraf, volume 3, page 400 to 401. This is a very powerful story. As we see with many of these companions of Imam al-Husayn, they had no qualms about dying. It seems that their only regret is that they couldn't do it more than once, is that they couldn't defend al-Husayn salamullah alayhi more than once. So many of us in this situation, if someone asks us, make your wasiyah, what possible thing could you have on the brink of death? And so Muslim ibn Awsjah says, he's my wasiyah. My Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayhi, that is all I want you to do. That is all I care about. And so we see similar behavior with some of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When they would fall as martyrs, others would come up to them and congratulate them and tell them that if there's anything they can do for them, and they would say, just make sure Rasulullah is safe, make sure Rasulullah is okay. Correct? So that's the bio of Sayyidina Muslim ibn Awsjah.